I'm starting to believe that if you can talk in front of the camera with ease, by yourself, very comfortably, very fluently, you might be a fucking crazy person. This is hard as shit. Talking by yourself, stream of consciousness, letting your thoughts pour out. But fuck it. Yeah, this is me, old crass lewd. So you know, people have things against cursing. I feel like I talk about the same shit all the time. I'm a boring fuck, but sometimes I'm not. It's like proportionate. I can be extremely boring or extremely entertaining, and my in between is kind of lame. But it is what it is. What's going on with y'all? How's your life? Life is indeed hard. It's hard to be a human. Rather, it's hard to be better than a human. Because I'm starting to come to a conclusion after I've considered everything, as I've posted recently. I'm being fair. I'm being fair to humanity. I'm trying to consider as much as possible. But at our worst, at our most sinful, our usual shitty selves, that's what's human to me. That we can begin to understand what's better for us, what's healthiest for us, and we can override certain kinds of natural inclinations that would otherwise harm us. To me, that is striving to be something more than human. Because humans at our most natural, you see it all the time. The reason why people are so toxic and the reason why people suck so much is because they're being human. They're being their natural selves. They are not utilizing a certain option in the mind, which is self-awareness. It takes a lot of energy to flex that self-awareness muscle. Because for one, I think it takes a lot of energy just because I think it just takes a lot of energy. Just like bench pressing or trying to memorize something or studying for an exam. I think we sometimes underestimate the amount of mental power it takes to override into sort of rid yourself of the bad habits and whatnot. Even I have underestimated it countless times because I've been so dedicated to it for years and years and years. I take for granted how hard it is to check yourself, how hard it is to audit your thoughts and your actions and to be honest with yourself. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of bravery, seriously. And that's coming from somebody who's a self-proclaimed coward. Coward is written all over my heart and mind all throughout my life. I'm a little coward pussy bitch. But putting that aside, oh yeah, baby. Yo, if you're watching, yo, I'm fucking crazy, man. And I've always been crazy. It sucks that people don't acknowledge that. You know what? You know why it sucks when people don't acknowledge that you're crazy? Because then they place all of these expectations and standards on you that shouldn't apply to you. I've never been one to be compatible with a lot of what's conventionally attractive. And also on top of that, I've always been an addict. And excuse me if I'm repeating myself. This is a selfish video more so it's like a little therapy session. This is what I do by myself anyway. And it's one of those things where I might as well record it. But I've always been an addict, man. And luckily I've never come across hard drugs. Luckily my environment, my parents, they successfully persuaded me that every drug, that whether it was weed or anything, that it was horrible. They persuaded me that drugs are bad. The DARE campaigns when we were younger. I'm 33, I'm old as fuck. But when we were younger, they had all these campaigns, don't do drugs, this is your brain on drugs. The woman, the woman in the kitchen, what was she doing? She was cooking eggs and then she started flinging shit around. And this is your brain, and this, and then, you know, that stuff got me. And I didn't fuck with nothing. And it was for the better, but also it was I can honestly say that I got some kind of imbalance where it's easy for me. I'm always sleepy. Well, in my younger days anyway. I used to always be sleepy. I had concentration issues. I had attention issues. I had obsession issues, like meaning that something I'm interested in, something that entertains me, like I'm fully into it nonstop, even to my detriment. I've had a lot of issues, man, and I hate that it's not acknowledged because when people don't acknowledge your hardships, your weaknesses, your flaws, they then think the reasons why you fall short are because of something else, something of their own concoction. They think that it's because, I don't know, you're lazy, you are stupid, you're unwise, you are immature, when sometimes you are just trying to learn how to deal with your faulty equipment. Sometimes you're trying your best with what you have to work with. And so that's why I am a big advocate for healthiness, because when I first started eating right, I noticed that I had better energy levels. I noticed that those sleep issues that I had when I was younger, where I just be, what to me seemed inexplicably tired all the time, and then all of a sudden super hyperactive, and then all of a sudden really, really sleepy. But changing my diet, taking out sugar, especially sugar. Sugar was a huge culprit. I used to eat. There's one memory I have where and again, if you listened to me before, I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I have to state that again. I must call myself out before somebody gets the feeling that I am oblivious to my repetitions. But I have a very distinct memory of one night going out, 17 years old. We just hit the gas station, and I ate a Butterfinger, a pack of Wild Berry Skittles, and I think another pack of it was another pack of some kind of candy. It was either 2 Butterfingers and a pack of Wild Berry Skittles, or 2 packs of Wild Berry Skittles. Wild Berry Skittles were my shit, and a Butterfinger. It was 3 items of candy I remember, just back to back, and it felt like heaven. It felt like it healed me, but it was just a ton of sugar. And so that speaks to, that thing about imbalances too. It's funny because I don't even look at myself as faulty intrinsically or necessarily as like some kind of fact. I have an imbalance in the context of society, of this current world. Like, if I was born in a different context where it wasn't, the everyday world wasn't so okay, all right, come on, we gotta go, we gotta do this, gotta do that, you always gotta be pepped up, and you always have to focus. Not in every environment you don't have to do that. It's not all the time that you have to constantly be on. Fucking I was talking about that with my boy Joseph the other day, how you just gotta make sure in these typical work environments, man, how it sucks that like some days you just dry. It's not even that you mad. It's not even that you're sad. You just are kind of fucking dry. And I swear, I haven't been to England. I haven't been to the UK. But I swear that they understand this. If anything, they're known for it. What is it? They call it the dry British wit and all that. And I've seen, there are these times, these moments when I watch a lot of British stuff and I listen to them talk, and they get it. Or rather, they seem to be cool with dryness. And in the work environments in America, it's like, hey, what's wrong? Is something wrong? You're not smiling. You're not pepped up. It's like, how can people not do fucking drugs? How can people not get on the Adderall, start just sniffing Adderall and shit, and doing whatever they gotta do to exemplify happiness? And I was telling it's not even, it's funny because when people ask if something's wrong, they're not even asking for your sake. They're asking you if something wrong because it bothers their mind to see you are out of place now, attitude wise. We need to see you happy and perked up because it makes me feel good. It's not about you, because like maybe you are sad. Would you like to hear my story? You don't give a fuck. Like, and again, if I'm doing my job, if I'm being respectful and I'm being civil, let me be dry. But to me, it's analogous to, or it's the equivalent of what people, I don't hear so much about it happening anymore, but like there was this time in this world where you would hear about somebody saying, just hey, smile more. Especially men telling women to smile. You should smile more. But I've seen it. I've seen women do it too to men, and I've seen it in the workplace. Smile. Why don't you smile? Or just strangers, smile. And I have this morbid interest in being told that by somebody, so that I can, and I say morbid interest because I want to tell them. And some people have superstitious feelings about this. And look, if you're sensitive, if stuff rubs you the wrong way, then don't fucking listen to me, please. But anyway, moving on. I wanted to tell them that whenever somebody in my family passed away, I want to say that. So just to see the look on their face when they tell me to smile, and then I tell them, yeah, so and so just died. So they can be like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then I want to say, yeah, maybe you should mind your fucking business. Maybe you should maybe you should not presume someone isn't smiling just because they have a poor take on life. Perhaps life is fucking them. You ever think about that? Anyway, we have good times here, don't we? Yeah, but I think ultimately that we are all spoiled though, and we should be more appreciative. And I'll speak solely for myself. I want to let y'all know every criticism, virtually every criticism I have of society, of other human beings, it's a criticism of an aspect of a person because I see that aspect within my own self. When I talk about people being cowardly, you're looking at the coward. When I hear people talking about fucking being toxic, I used to be fucking Mr. King toxic. When you hear people talk, when I say things like we're stupid and dumb, I'm a dumbass. My unchecked autopilot self is just as shitty as everybody else. But to me, that's where that aspirational part comes in. That's to me the transcendence of the human. To me, that's where the spirit comes in. The spirit we talk about. Transcendence seems to run through like what'd you say, I don't know if it's ethos or it's like every culture that is quote unquote evolved, that has their literature, that has their thinkers. We all understand, or believe, I should say, that we can be more than just what our default is. And to me, that is the more than human thing. The human thing is what we've been seeing. It's the killing just for the sake of killing. It's the hatred taken to like the nth degree. It's the fucking murdering of children just because, just because. I mean, we have human beings. Animals tend to kill for their own specific reasons that have to do with territory, that have to do with acquiring a better position in their hierarchies and all that. It's not, they don't just, animals don't tend to just be like go on a fucking rampage and just kill people because they're just unhappy with the world. Or at least that I haven't seen that. I'm not aware of that existing. I mean, they are fucked up. I'm reading this book called Beauty, the Evolution of Beauty, and it was talking about how in the duck world, how some species of mallard, I believe, some species of duck and just the forced copulation, aka rape, and how yeah, they get down. Ducks be they be raping up a storm is what I'm saying. But my point, but even that, and even in that world, they tend not to even use the word rape. I mean, those who talk about it and those who investigate it and try to see what the deal is with that, because scientists do not believe that it has the same the same essence. It's not just for the sake of the male duck. It's being empowered or feeling insecure and being a coward and having to have sex with this female duck for its own sadistic pleasure, raping the duck for its own sadistic pleasure. It's for the sake of reproduction, and that doesn't make it good per se, because this guy, as he argues, it's like, although it's natural for male ducks to engage in forced copulation, it harms their order and it harms the species. But that's why it's just, that whole thing's about evolution. But that's why he was saying that female ducks have co-evolved defense mechanisms with the vaginal spirals that they have. They have their ways. He says female ducks have their ways of ensuring that of reducing the likelihood that forced copulation will impregnate them. Instead, and so yeah, okay, moving on from that, whatever. But what else is there? Homeboy, dude, yo, my man on Instagram, you wanted me to talk about Wesley, sexual desire in the 21st century. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. I think sex is important. I love sex. And I'm sorry to transition into normal talk about sex from what I just talked about, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, man, everybody, sex has always interested me. Relationships have always interested me. One thing I'll tell you was whack about myself, I used to have sex with no regard for a woman having an orgasm in my younger days. Like I lost my virginity when I was 17, and from 17 on up until the age of like fucking 25, sex for me was just a conquering thing. And it was a validation thing, I should say. Like, I was so fucking insecure that when a woman had sex with me, what it gave me was legitimacy. And that is whack, because what sex should be is something just purely enjoyable. Like, there shouldn't be any fucking, if you want to be selfish in sex, then I guess take it somewhere else. I'll speak just from merely my view as the kind of man that I am, to be quite honest. The kind of guy that I am. I do have a certain view on it. To me, it was funny. Okay, what's funny is that in this book, and I don't know if he comes to this conclusion or this view, but they were talking about where did the female orgasm originate, and this author is critical of evolutionary psychologists and whatnot, presuming that the female orgasm is a result of it's called upsucking, just as a way as an adaptationist thing, just to ensure that the sperm gets up there more with much more certainty and efficiency to increase the effectiveness of sperms traveling. And he argues against that, and he was making all these arguments and whatnot. But my view, I'm like, where did the female orgasm originate, or why did it? Because he's saying, why was it selected, quote unquote? Like, why did it continue? Because like he was saying, in other primates, the female orgasm is not so much a thing, and even in humans, when a woman has an orgasm, whether or not she has one, it's not necessary to reproduce. Like a lot of, and as he pointed out, a lot of women do not have orgasms, yet they still get pregnant. A lot of women don't have orgasms ever, and they might not, and you might not have had one. And it was funny to me, a lot of Timo sex, because a lot of women, what's interesting, this is correlation. I've talked to a lot of women about sex, right? Like I honest Marcus, I like to get into it all. And I have like my own little personal survey of, and I'm jumping from shit to shit because this is stream of consciousness. A lot of women don't masturbate. That's wild to me. That's wild. Now, here's the thing. Then the woman who says I don't masturbate says, because you'll say, yeah, they don't masturbate because I can get sex, right? But I don't know. See, a lot of women don't masturbate, even women who don't have sex. But then to that, a woman comes up and says, no, they're lying, right? So there's women who don't masturbate, and then there's women who think that's just complete horseshit. But I've talked to enough women that don't masturbate to believe them. Like, they're not being dainty or they're not trying to be coy. They're like, no, I don't do it. And then there's women are like, of course I do it. And the women that don't masturbate, they tend to not like receiving oral sex. By their word. They say, is this correlated? Every time they say don't masturbate, I always ask them, I say, do you like receiving oral sex? They always, 9 times out of 10, they say no. And you might say, how many women have you talked to? A shit ton. A shit ton. Trust me. I've talked to a shit ton of women about this. It's not even about women who just I'm getting with. If I'm talking to your ass, we talking about everything probably. And I'm getting the sex. And like I said, 33 years on this motherfucking earth, I've taken a little personal survey. And a lot of women don't even touch themselves. Because they think it's a lot of times they think it's icky too. I think it's funny that the women who don't masturbate tend to be sort of, what's a polite, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Necessarily. Like, just do what you wanna, because it's asexual. Because sexual intensity or sexual activation, I should say, varies from person to person. One of the women who told me that she doesn't like it, she prefers the cuddling after sex. She prefers that is what's the most joyous thing for her, right? And also, I think a lot of these women just have come across dudes that were like me in my younger days when I was just pumping it mindlessly, just fucking accomplishing nothing but my own satisfaction. By the way, can I say I especially try not to do things with regret anymore, because when I think back to how selfish I was sexually speaking, it makes me mad at who I was, and it makes me sad that I was okay with that. But it's all good. It was all up. They knew what the deal was, kind of. But it still sucks. But sexual desire, but I think sex is important, whether or not a woman, you as a woman do whatever. Sex is super important to me, man, because that's, to me, a source of energy. And every source of energy that I can get, I'll take. I do think that some of us are preventing ourselves from having the greatest sexual experiences we can have because we're not really in tune with ourselves. And when you are not familiar with your own body, like, you as a woman, if you never had an orgasm, I will tell you this: if you know how to come by yourself, I would imagine, I would presume that you could more easily. I'm not saying that means that you'll definitely come with you had sex with a guy, but I would imagine that you can better, you can assist, you can help create, you can help facilitate your orgasm more easily when having sex if you're familiar with your body. Don't rely on if you, I'm talking to the women right now who've never had orgasm. Don't rely on the dudes. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. All right. Anyway, what do I want to say? Sexual desire in the 21st century. What else is there about it? I'm talking about women. They don't like the correlation. I just want to speak to that correlation that I see with women who don't masturbate and they don't like receiving oral sex. I love women's sexual liberation at the moment. I really do. I love the fact I love that slut shaming is almost gone. I don't think anything bad about. I do think that as I make see, I didn't. I guess I'm kind of veering away from repeating myself again, but I do think caring. The best sex is when you're healthy to me. Is when you are physically and mentally healthy. But you know what that means? Because if you're physically and mentally healthy, then you're probably at your most relaxed. You're probably at your most energized. And you're probably at your most sensitive. And so I think being healthy in every way just makes sex a better, more glorious thing. And we are I do think sex can be completely emotionless too. I don't think it's this. I don't claim to believe that sex has to be this like this holy union. I don't know if it's necessarily the worst thing in the world that sex is casual. I know there's a case for it that we devalue sex. Which is, I don't know if it's true actually. I think thinking about it, if anything, we place too much value on sex, or sex means too much to some of us, and that's some of the problem is that sex is our everything, and that's when it's a problem. You know, people talk about sex addiction not being real. I remember when I used to hear about sex addiction a long time ago, and like from several commentators, I've heard the remark being, "It's not real. It's just a what is it? A symptom. It's just you're just a lucky guy. It's the problem for the man who has it all." Really, they were saying it's a problem that's not a problem. But then you got to remember what addiction is, though. Addiction is when you're pursuing something, despite that something having a significant negative consequence. So sex addiction then would be you pursuing sex, wanting sex, needing sex, despite that pursuit destroying things in your life. Whether it's dissolving your friendships, it's ruining your concept of love, whether it's hurting your job. It can hurt if it's hurting something and you're doing it anyway, or rather if it's hurting things in your life or things about yourself significantly and you're doing it anyway, then you are probably addicted to it. And you can definitely be addicted to sex, 100%. And that's no bueno. You need to find other sources of happiness, other sources of fulfillment, other than just sex. That being said, sex is fucking awesome. Fuck, man, that's it. Shit. I talked enough. God damn it. Alright, I'm done.